Welcome, guys, to Beyond Adjustment, the podcast where we dive deeper into the art, the science, and, of course, the business of chiropractic care. I'm your host, Amin Saeed, and today we're in for a real treat. Joining me is Dr. Shawn, a leading expert in chiropractic care. We're going to get into the specialty and what he does and his notable focus and all that later on. But he's been transforming lives one adjustment at a time, and the reason why he's on today's show. So in this episode, we're unpacking not just the practical side of chiropractic care, but the vision and strategy behind running a thriving clinic. So from patient care to staying ahead in a competitive market, we're going to cover it all. Dr. Shawn, it is an absolute privilege to have you here today. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm so excited to get into this. So without further ado, I'd love to kind of just kick things off by getting into a little bit of the personal / professional journey of yours. So you began your career as a deputy sheriff, right? So what inspired you to shift to chiropractic care?
Well, while I was in the academy, I got hurt. I hurt my back. I had a pretty significant disc herniation at L1, L2, and it caused all sorts of really uncomfortable symptoms, and I went to a chiropractor. Dr. Jim Sandberg, and he started helping me, and we tried to get me back into the sheriff's department. And back then, 25 years ago, if you got hurt in your spine, you were done.
Yeah,
it's not like today where they're kind of duct taping these guys back up and putting them, guys and gals, putting them back out on the streets.
Right.
Back then, you hurt your spine, anything, you're gone, you're retired. And so, they retired me pretty quickly, and I had nothing to do. That's all I wanted to be, I'll date myself a little bit here. All I wanted to be is, John and Ponch from Chips, I wanted to be a cop. As a kid, they filmed it right outside this window here, outside my office is the 118 freeway. And that's where they filmed Chips. So as a kid,
right.
I, got to go sit on the side of the freeway. And,
right.
That wasn't open, that watched them film that, and that's all I wanted to be, and that's all my focus was. And so I just started kind of researching what I wanted to do, and I decided I want to be a lawyer. It kind of goes along with what I'll be. I'll be a prosecutor. I will put these guys in jail through the courts. And I remember talking to Dr. Sandberg and his partner. And they were like, man, nobody likes a lawyer. He goes, man, if you just do what you did for us, look at the lobby, there's all those people you referred to us. If you did that yourself, you'd be living comfortably. You'd be helping people still. That's what you want to do. And they set up a visit to Cleveland Chiropractic College. And Dr. Cleveland III took me on a tour of the school. I'd like to say he took me on the Thursday. And by Monday, I was doing my undergrad there. I did 2 years of undergrad in a year, and took off, and here I am. A little transfer halfway through school. I ended up at Parker University.
Okay. Yep. Familiar with that.
So I'm a proud grad of both schools. I got a bachelor's from Cleveland Chiropractic College, and my doctorate from Parker University.
Absolutely love it. That's amazing. So let me ask you this: how did your personal experience with, the back injury, and what you walked through there, how did that shape your perspective on healing and chiropractic care?
Well, it definitely gives me an advantage because, let's say you walked in my office, I've experienced the pain you have.
Sure.
During my journey, back 20 years ago, it was like they were giving out pain pills like they were Skittles. And, I survived on those things. And then one day I just had a bad experience and I flushed them all down the toilet and wrote it out with Dr. Sandberg and Dr. Hutchings, his partner, drug-free, because I just didn't like the way I felt. And at one point, my son's mom was pregnant and I did the quick math. If I passed away on duty, which at that time I was assigned to my house because I was injured, if I passed away on duty, I was worth $2 million. If I just passed away as a sheriff, I was worth $1 million. Well, if I just passed away, and I literally planned out a way to pass away because of the pain. Wow. I just couldn't take it. It was overwhelming. And from that point on, I stopped taking the meds that they were giving me, and they were giving me some gnarly stuff. And I took it because, it's my assignment. I want to go back to work. I don't want to, I did what I was told to do. I was a good soldier, good officer, good deputy. And once I stopped taking that stuff, I realized the pain wasn't that bad. I did have to have, a microdiscectomy, in my back, and that was world changing. And I'm one of, people that walk through my door. I'm one of maybe 5 in a 16-year career that have had a successful back surgery and walked through my door. And I'm one of them, and I'm not an advocate for surgery. I try everything to avoid that. Yeah, and I did for 5 years. I fought in the PT room, in the chiropractic room, acupuncture. I did everything I could holistically. And finally, one day I just couldn't do it anymore. And I had a microdiscectomy, and here I am 22 years later, practicing and really realistically no pain from that injury.
Sure. Wow. Okay. So let me just kind of shift the focus a little bit. So sports rehabilitation, and we're going to bring that into the mix here. So I would say you identify, right, as a sports rehabilitation chiropractor, right? So what drew you to this specialization?
Well, when I was 15, I made the national team squad for USA field hockey. And impressive. I played field hockey on the men's team from, about 15 till 21, years of age, right around the 96 Olympics. And just getting, treated by athletic trainers, doctors, chiropractors through my journey. And then also my time at Dr. Sandberg and Dr. Hutchings' office as a patient. It just became my niche. I really, truly enjoy, like this morning I woke up, got my coffee, popped on social media, and one of my kids, Gino Vaughn, just signed with Utah Tech and got a scholarship. So it's, those things, just, seeing these kids go from, that particular kiddo, I've been with him since, he was in, youth football all the way through his championship game on last Friday. And those things, that's what drives me, and why I like being, sports guy. But, that's my niche. But I really treat the whole family, from babies all the way to, 90 years old.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right. So here's the $1 million question for you, Dr. Shawn. So if you could go back in time and give just one piece of advice to yourself as a deputy sheriff, considering chiropractic care, what would that be?
Well, that's a tough question. One piece of advice, as a patient, you should have started yesterday. Get under care. Don't wait till you're in pain. And as a young doctor, be ready to talk to people. Be able to, be personable, be able to be raw with them, exposed to them.
Sure.
Share your story with them. Everybody has a story. I know you have a story of chiropractic. That's why you're doing this.
That's right. That's right.
And, but, I see a lot of young doctors coming out that hang their shingle, and they're going to come, and it's like, no, man, you got to get out in the community,
Yeah.
You gotta, be willing to talk to people.
That's so good.
That's the main thing, be able to talk, communicate.
So I really do appreciate when, doctors like yourself share, the personal side of it, because it really tells me your why and it shows your passion. So thank you for opening up and kind of telling me what your story is all about. And we'll probably get into a little bit more of that later, because there's a side of the story that our listeners don't know about that really touched my heart and really hits home for me as well. So I'm excited to get into that, but they want to know about it, they'll have to kind of stick around at the end of the episode. But anyway, so we talked about your specialty in athletics, and you said you do cover the whole family. So let's talk about that a little bit, right? So
Okay.
family chiropractic, while you're specializing in sports rehabilitation, you also treat the entire family. How do you balance these two aspects of your practice?
It's quite simple. I mean, everybody has a treatment plan, and everybody has different needs. So as they come in, they get whatever treatment they need. So like, for instance, maybe in your case, you have some low back pain, or you're just coming in to be healthy.
Sure.
You come in, and my office, I think I told you this, my office goes in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
You come in right over here. I don't know if the camera can see that. And then you come and you start here on our therapy tables.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go from there, and you can see my adjusting table behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And then around that corner, we do, some of our rehab stuff. And then on the other side, we have some other rooms. But everybody has a specialized plan when they walk in my door.
Yeah.
And my staff, Summer, she sees the patient come in, sees the schedule, she has them scheduled so she can give everybody 100% of her attention and mine.
Okay.
So
I would say, well, tell me more, but I have a specific question.
Yeah.
What are I would say the biggest differences? Let's kind of dig a little bit deeper. So what would be the biggest differences between treating, I know you're saying they're specialized and whatnot, but between treating athletes versus, families or children, or maybe prenatal, or, things like that. What are the major differences there?
So, like my athletes, depending on where they're at in their journey right now, some of my guys are gearing up to race in Supercross and in flat track on motorcycles. And so right now they're training, they're getting ready. January 11th for the Supercross guys come pretty quickly. The first week of February comes pretty quickly for our flat track racer. They come in, they're doing the hyperbaric chamber. They're coming in, they're getting adjusted. At this point, we've kind of healed all their injuries. Now we're going to get their body firing at the optimal, So like, for instance, we're making sure their shoulders are loose, their back is loose.
Right.
We're stretching them. We're cupping them. We're doing massage.
Sure.
And of course, the adjustment is key. We always adjust. And so for my motocross guys and my motorcycle racers, we adjust the wrist, the elbow, the shoulders, first rib, their neck, and their low back, their knees, their ankles, because all that's affected there, and motorcycles. Like my baseball kids right now, we're in fall ball for baseball. So we're kind of recovering from summer club and travel ball, high school fall ball. We're working on their shoulders. We're making sure their shoulders have no pain. We're loosening them up. Same thing, cupping. We use what's called the PEMF machine, pulse energy magnetic frequency from Pulse Industries. We use that to get their shoulder firing at 100%. A soccer kid, we're going to focus on knees and ankles and balance. We're going to do all these balance stuff, and then our rehab stuff, strength conditioning in the gym. We give them a plan to go to the gym. Here's what you do. So it's all around. Okay. Now, my everyday patient, my car accident patient, of course, they're acute. They're coming in. They're seeing me 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Our focus is to get them out of pain.
Right.
So we're going a little bit slower with them, and a little bit, taking a little more time.
Sure.
Maybe more ice and a little more stim on them, that type of deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wellness patients that are coming in, After, everybody that comes in my office, they end up on a wellness plan.
Sure.
And, depending on their job, their lifestyle, it could be every 2 weeks, once a month, and we're just keeping their spine functioning 100% with an adjustment. And also, we force them to kind of sit on that table behind here with my shoulder with a little bit of heat and stim, mostly just to relax and take that 10, 15 minutes and just relax.
Okay.
And out this side, what they're looking at is a beautiful view of Simi Valley.
Yeah.
And it forces them to do it. The patients come in, I don't have time for that. Yeah. Well, I'm going to make you have time. You're gonna pamper yourself for 10 minutes and just kind of relax. Yeah. And that's kind of the way we do it.
I love it. So if we could talk a little bit about, I'm kind of switching gears a little here, the holistic wellness piece of it. Based on some of the conversations that you and I have had, I kind of picked up on, and what I read, I picked up on some of that, right? What role do kind of the, lifestyle and, wellness education play in your practice, especially for families, I would say?
Yeah. In my practice, I work really hard at trying to keep things simple.
Okay.
A lot of chiropractors sometimes get caught up in, you got to do this diet. You got to do this. You got to eliminate that. You got to eliminate that. Got to eliminate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Miss Jones down the street, she's got to take Billy to this soccer game, Sally to this softball game. She's got to do this. How are you going to make it easy for her? Mm-hmm. And what I generally do is I've done the research and I find different products, food delivery, things like that, meal prep, make life easy for them. Then they'll be compliant. Does that make sense?
It does.
You and I both have kids. Yeah. Sitting down with you is a break.
Same.
You know what I'm saying?
Same.
It's coming to work is my break, and if you were to tell me, hey, Shawn, you got to go buy special food, you got to prepare it a special way, I'm most likely not going to be compliant.
Sure.
But if you say, hey, you need to do this to be healthy, and if you're so busy, let me help you out. Here's some alternatives. Here's some, different things to do, because I just know my lifestyle is 100 miles an hour, as I'm sure you'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah. $1 million question for you, Dr. Shawn. What do you believe, and I know you guys hate when I do this because I always kind of corner you into saying one thing, but what do you believe is the single most important reason why every family or athlete or, it doesn't matter who, from newborns to, grandma and grandpa, that what is the single most important reason why they should incorporate chiropractic care into their health routine?
Well, it's simple. If the message doesn't get from here to everything here, misalignments cause pressure on the nerve, which allows the nerve not to function 100%, so your body's not firing at 100%. So no matter how healthy you eat, how much you work out, if the message going from your brain down your spinal cord to your organs, to your muscles, isn't firing at 100%, you're kind of wasting your time.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I love your answer, by the way. I mean, personally, and I don't want to get into too much of myself, but I actually lost hearing. I don't know if I actually shared this with you. I lost hearing in my right ear like 5 years ago. Did I tell you about that?
No. No.
So 5 years ago, I wake up one day, no hearing whatsoever. And I actually only realized it because I was laying down on the couch and my wife was calling me. So she thought it was your average, my husband's just ignoring me, but I wasn't.
Selective hearing.
Selective hearing. Exactly. But that's not what it was, obviously. And I just couldn't hear. And then she came up to the couch and she's like, she's going like this. And I look up, I'm like, and I sit up and I'm like, were you just saying something or are you messing with me? Because it sounded like I just clogged my ears. And I realized at that moment that I couldn't hear from my ear. I got dizzy. Anyway, that's a really long story, but I ended up going to like audiologists and all these things. They pumped me with steroids, man. I mean, they're like, this is gonna help. Well, it didn't help, obviously. But I was talking to my chiropractor, and he was talking to me about my atlas, right? And I think I'm at a 9-degree angle, so it's not great. We're working on fixing that. I think I'm at 11 or 12 now, which I'm very happy with. I don't know that we'll get it up to the 20-ish, 25-ish range that it needs to be, but I'm really hoping that that's my answer, because it literally, there's no rhyme, rhythm, reason for what happened. So I get that, right? The whole communication from here to here, it's literally my story. And I'm a musician. So when that happened, I was devastated. So I think if I knew at the time, and if I was getting, regular care, I don't think that this would have happened. But, it's definitely a personal connection for me. So great answer. Appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right. This is where the fun starts for me. This is the bread and butter for me. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the business side, and the marketing in your chiropractic practice. So let's start with talking about building the practice. So what were some of your biggest challenges when establishing your practice? And before you answer, if you can talk about, if there were other attempts that you've made and that possibly failed, like this might be your second practice. I've talked to folks that they're on their fourth practice, and they got it right on the fourth time. So be as transparent as possible and just kind of talk about your biggest challenges when establishing your practice.
Well, I've had two practices. I started one in Texas, and I worked under Dr. Seaford in Rockwall, Texas.
Okay.
And just for a short period of time, a couple months. And, my children's mother, she decided Texas wasn't her. She wanted to come home. But when I was there, getting out and meeting people, I wasn't confident in my story. I wasn't confident in the chiropractic story.
Okay.
I knew it worked. I've seen it in my own family. I know it worked for me. And that was my biggest hurdle. And in Texas, I was a Californian boy. At that time, 16, 17 years ago, they really didn't care for Californians. And I don't believe they care for Californians as much right now either. But so I went there and it was really a struggle. I mean, to get out and talk to people, do spinal screenings, oh man, this is so dumb. I'm doing spinal screenings, because I'm a doctor. You should just come to me.
Sure.
I mean, I got that plaque over here that says I'm smart.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And, my niche there was, I got into the community and I started a thing with the Chamber of Commerce out there.
Okay.
Where, unfortunately, my youngest son had a febrile seizure and stopped breathing, and we lived kind of out in the sticks. And he had to be flown into Dallas Children's Hospital.
Goodness
and I went through the whole CPR thing and had to do CPR on my son. And thank God he's still here,
Amen.
That led me to realize there was a lot of parents that didn't know CPR. And right before I moved, I got with the Rowlett Chamber of Commerce and I said, hey, we got to do this. And they had this street fair. I think they're still doing it. I haven't been there in 15 years, where they taught CPR for free. Wow. And that was kind of like my start to get in the community. And I was a little bit recognized by that. And I was forced to be comfortable to talk to you. Like when this happened, I would be like, yeah, I adjust. Yeah. I'm a chiropractor. Yeah. And that's why I always tell people it takes a lot to be able to just communicate and talk to people and not talk in such a way, like with big words. Obviously I always use our keyword subluxation. That's the key to what we do.
That's the key word.
But I'm not going to use, these big words to tell you that I'm smart. I'm going to tell you at your level, hey, that place right here where it's kind of like sore and tender, that's a subluxation.
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of that. And I do the adjustment. I feel there and I go, it's gone. They're like, whoa. Yeah. I didn't have to tell them that I put so much force at such a velocity at this and that.
Sure.
They don't care. Get me better.
Yes.
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 And that was my challenge at the beginning. When I came home to Simi Valley, where I'm from, matter of fact, the building I'm sitting in as a kid, I watched my dad and his construction crew build it. My childhood house is right over my shoulder here. Right,
you did mention that.
Just,
yes, you told me about that. Yeah,
where I just right there, I can see my childhood house that I lived in. I graduated Simi High School. I went to the local middle schools that are walking distance from my office. It's funny, the girls, when they answer the phone, "Hey, Shawn, one of your friends are coming again." Because everybody knows Dr. Shawn.
Love it.
And it is true. We're a small town that everybody knows everybody. And that made it a little bit easier, a little more comfortable for me to talk to people. Mm-hmm. But the hardest thing for me, another challenge, was going from, "Hey, I'm friend," to now I'm your doctor.
Yeah.
And having some, I don't know how to say this, having some authority over them.
Yeah.
Somebody that they trust.
Yeah.
Not the squirrely kid that rode the BMX bike all over town and did stupid stuff.
Sure.
That, they'll sit here and tell my staff about, to transfer that into, I'm a confident, intelligent doctor that is going to get you better.
Yeah. That
was my challenge when I came home. I was a little more comfortable at that point in telling the chiropractic story. But honestly, it wasn't till I got the newspaper in Texas, and I did a couple news things here where I talked about my son Trevor, which I know you're going to bring up later.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. That's a powerful story.
That kind of opened up the door to me and kind of forced me to be able to tell the story and go do the spinal screenings instead of going, "Dude, I got to do this dumb spinal screening." I don't see the MDs out here telling why do I got to do it. Yeah. To where I changed it to my attitude is I started educating about chiropractic. I'm not just a pain doctor.
Sure.
Everybody's on my back, and they come in and go, "Oh, my shoulder's coming. Oh man, let me help you with that." No, you're a chiropractor. What? And I got more comfortable in just kind of educating people what we do, because unfortunately, our profession is horrible at telling people what we do. People think we're these whack jobs. We dance in the circle and woo, and smoke and ring and all this stuff. And I pop you and crack you and woo, you're healed.
Yeah.
I touch you and you're healed. No, there's some science and art behind what we do. And as a profession, we need to get out there and tell people that and tell people about it and talk about it.
Yeah. You keep tugging on my heartstrings, Dr. Shawn, and I'm going to kick myself if I don't bring this up, but you mentioned having to give your son CPR.
Yes, Micah, my youngest.
Your youngest. If I get through this without crying, I'm gonna give myself a cookie. My firstborn, Emily, was born with trisomy 13. She surpassed everything the doctor said, by the way, but she lived with us until she was 16 months, and then God decided it was time for her to go home. But in her life, Dr. Shawn, I kid you not, I probably lost count of how many times I had to perform CPR on my daughter. The scariest thing that you could ever do for a child, a person, especially. There it is. Sorry. Your child.
It's okay.
Your child. And she, man, if I didn't get the training that I needed, who knows how long she would have been able to stay with us. So I feel you. I hear you. The fact that you decided to do those clinics and teaching the CPR for free, and if it's still going there, that's amazing. I love that, because lives will be saved because of it. So I thank you for that, really.
Yeah, it was in my situation here in California. When you call 911, the 911 operator has a book, and they kind of flip through it and walk you through the steps. Mm-hmm. And I remember Micah's mom calling 911 where we were, and we lived in a little town called Fate, Texas. If you blinked, you missed it. Fate, Texas. Got say just right, Fate. And the nearest hospital was by my chiropractic office right across the way, about 30 minutes down Route 66. We had volunteer firefighters. I remember Micah and Trevor's mom calling 911. I said, call 911. And she kind of looked at me funny. I'm like, call 911. Get the 911 operator on there. Put her on speaker. I want her to walk me through CPR. And she looks at me like, you know CPR. Please. Because it's your child, I needed somebody to direct me. And they go there, we don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm on my own.
Yeah.
I get there, I'm literally walking distance from the volunteer fire department. I can hear all the guys hauling butt in their trucks to the firehouse, then to come to my house.
Yeah.
And they get there and they see it's me, like, Dr. Shawn, what do you want us to do? I want you to take care of my baby.
Yeah.
And I realized, unfortunately, this particular crew wasn't qualified to help.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay, I need blow-by oxygen. I need this, and this. They bring me an oxygen. They can't figure out how to turn it on. I calmly look at my neighbor and I say, Greg, go to my toolbox, second drawer down, get a pair of pliers, bring it here. We'll open this oxygen tank up. What I didn't see is the oxygen, the lid to it, or the on-off thing was hanging off to the back of it. And the guy goes, oh, here it is, and put it on there. My son was seizing from the fever.
Yeah.
And we get to Rowlett Hospital, which is about 30 minutes down the road from us. And I realized we're in trouble. And I called Children's Hospital, say, hey, this is Dr. DeCloedt. Who do we have to talk to get a helicopter here to get my kid to you? On the way, Doc.
Wow.
They send the helicopter there. We get him to Children's Hospital. I won't go into what happened at Rowlett Hospital, but it was not good.
Yeah.
Long story short, Micah's here. He's healthy. He's a recruited lacrosse player. This is his old jersey right here behind me.
Nice.
And totally healthy. He's a chiro kid. He doesn't take medicine. He's all natural by his choice. He's been educated. The other day he sprained his ankle and they offered him ibuprofen, and I just kind of laughed. I looked at the PA and he goes, oh, I didn't know I had a shortage of ibuprofen in my body. Did you do a drug test on me? And the lady looked at him like, and then she realized it was me. She thinking I'm feeding him these lines. And I'm like, well, I have said that. And so, but it's the thing that, like you said, people don't know, they have their kids and, it's their free classes. If you don't have one in your area, please go take one. If you have children at all, if you don't have a child, go take a CPR class.
You could be saving someone else's child.
You could save someone else's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, we're supposed to be talking about the business aspects, Dr. Shawn. Stop getting gushy, man. Jeez. So your biggest challenge of building your practice was communication and getting out there. Okay. Love that answer. No, and I'm kidding. I love where the conversation went, man. This is, it's hard not to get personal when it comes to this. I get it. All right. Let's talk about marketing strategies. How do you market your practice to attract athletes and families alike?
Well, at the beginning, I was everywhere. I went everywhere I could. Now, word of mouth is my biggest marketer. I don't spend any money on the coupons that go out. I really don't want coupon chasers. I know it sounds terrible.
No, it doesn't.
I want someone to walk through my door that wants to get healthy. I don't want someone that comes through my door and says, hey, I want a free adjustment. Okay, well, go see your medical doctor and ask for a free visit. You're not going to get it.
Right.
And that has really changed my practice, and my numbers have exploded.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I'm looking for people that want to get healthy,
right?
That want to change, that get what if I tell a patient, hey, I need to see you 3 times a week for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, 2 weeks. If they tell me, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that. I'm like, hey, I think you're in the wrong place.
I get that.
And it took a lot of years to get to that point and get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
One of my buddies, Dr. Terry Wyman, I don't know if you've listened to his podcast,
Not yet.
Cracking Backs. He's been my mentor. He was my doctor when, at one point as well, my chiropractor. And he just told me, man, look for the people that want to get healthy. I don't want people that are coupon chasers. I don't want people that just think I pop and run, crack their back and send them off.
Yeah.
I want people to value what we do as a chiropractor.
Sure.
And that has definitely changed my practice. But like I said, the word of mouth, it's, in the baseball community, quite honestly, I started treating a kid's shoulder. I got him better. He sent another kid and sent another kid. Yeah, and now in high school baseball in Simi Valley, I'm kind of the guy to go to for your shoulders, for pitchers. Currently right now I have 3 or 4 of the pitching staff from Simi High and about 2 of them from Royal High School right now coming in the office, the rival schools.
Yeah.
And it's all word of mouth. Do I do some social media stuff? Yes. If you look at my social media stuff right now, I've been a little burned out. I've kind of burned myself out. It's hard to talk it's hard to describe what you do over and over and over again and try to change it. I'm pretty big on social media. I enjoy celebrating, my patients and my kids on my social media, on my business one and of course my personal one. But social media, some guys rely on it. I really, truly rely on word of mouth.
Okay.
And getting out in the community, Cynthia, my girlfriend, bless her. She, we go somewhere and it's sure enough, it's 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes of talking to somebody before we get to sit down to dinner. Or she loses me somewhere and she's always just like, she just is on a mission. She keeps going and I'm like, wait, I gotta, and it's that marketing is taking that time to make that person feel important.
Love it. I love that, man. And you actually touched on, so I had 2 follow-up questions for you, one around social media and one around community. You touched on both briefly here. So as far as the social media impact, like how has, your presence on, are you on Facebook and Instagram, Yelp, wherever you are, how has it helped grow your practice?
Honestly, I don't see a huge growth factor from the social media part of it. I'm on both. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And I post a lot of stuff and like I said, I've been at the time of filming this, I've been really bad. I kind of burned myself out because I got super good on Canva. I used Canva. There's a marketing tip if you want to make flyers, things like that. Yeah. The pro edition of Canva, I got really good at it. I did a lot of stuff for my son's lacrosse team, a lot of stuff for my office, and I kind of got burned out on it. Like I said, I couldn't come up. How many times can you talk about laser? How many times can you talk about hyperbaric? How many times can you talk about the chiropractic adjustment? And I just started talking about, I call them my kids. This jersey right here, that's an Olympic jersey from the Paralympics of Cody Jones. Wow. I could talk about Cody Jones all day long. I can talk about Micah all day long. The kids that come in my office, Cody is a grown adult now, but he's still one of my kids. And he's got an amazing story, cerebral palsy. Look him up. He's a speaker, inspirational speaker, Paralympian in Brazil, all that.
Okay.
But I lost where I was going. I lost my train of thought. I got excited about talking.
Well, we were talking a little bit about the social media impact, and you said you didn't see much benefit from it for your practice because you're mainly on really referrals at this point.
I'm on word of mouth. I mean, like I said, I celebrate the kids. That's where I was going. I celebrate the kids and my adults. I got a gentleman, 70-ish years old, got a hole-in-one at the local golf course. We talked about him. One of our patients caught a big fish, and we talked about him. I mean, I don't know. I'll turn my monitor a little bit. We have the Wall of Fame. That corner back there behind Summer's desk is a lot of our posts that we printed up and we make the kids and the adults autograph them because, there are rock stars. there
so
are,
good. I love
who
that.
we look up to.
I love that.
But back to social media, I really didn't see a big impact. I did a push. I paid somebody to do my marketing for me. I had a patient that was really good at it, and I hired her to do it, and she did a great job. Then I, got good at Canva, and I started doing it on my own. I'm there, that presence, you need to have it, because heaven forbid somebody Googles and you're not up at the top, they're going to go to the first one. And unfortunately for me, there's a place that it's just a joint. I don't know what it's called, something, I don't know. It's just a joint. It's not a chiropractic place like us. They don't do the full thing. And they're the first one that pops up. And I don't want someone to go to just a joint. That's like going to Kmart.
Yep.
We're Gucci, we're whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're high end. And I
understand
not to put that place down, but there's a need for them. But really, I want to be present.
Yeah.
But the social media part of it is more of a communication tool to keep your name out there and celebrate your patients.
I get that. I will say though that there is a science to it, right? Kind of that's what I do, right? That's kind of my specialty, and I make that work. That's my bread and butter. But I understand from kind of like a business ownership perspective, and trying to come up with new ideas, and telling the same story over and over again. I completely understand that. And
it's probably because I didn't have the right people, because I haven't been educated. Because historically, chiropractic clinics, someone won't travel more than 12 miles to come see you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these marketing things that I did in the past, and like you do this, so you'll probably have to correct me, is they were at the beginning, they were marketing to everybody. So they would take your, click-throughs, your pay-per-click, right? And you might get somebody in New York. Well, they're not coming to Simi Valley.
That's not the way to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I personally don't know how to local market like that, but like I said, Simi Valley is 12 miles long and 8 miles wide.
Yeah.
I don't really need to market outside of here. Do I have people that come from further away than that? Absolutely. All word of mouth,
That's actually pretty good radius for a practice like yours. And I'm sure there's other, chiropractic practices around you within that 12 by 8.
We have one on every corner.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way you market is critical. But we could talk about that another time. But again, you mentioned, people were calling you from. No, that's not the right way to do it. I literally designed my product to ensure like even upwards of 90 new patients. I do it within 3 months or less. And I'm so confident in it, and I'm so good at it. I hate to sound cocky, but like I'll offer it for free after the fact. Like if I don't get you the 90 new patients in those 3 months, I'll work for free. You have a lot of agencies out there that just because they know what digital marketing is, they just go after every niche that they can think of. Well, that's not the right way to do it, first of all. And second, if there's no purpose and there's no drive behind what you're doing, it just becomes a box checking exercise. And that's not what I do. So as far as the social media impact and or the marketing strategies, there's definitely a science to it. And I've for sure cracked the code on that. But so moving on.
And I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
To be successful with what I do, I put a team around me. Do you know what I'm saying? So you want some advice from a young Shawn? For a young Shawn or a young up-and-coming chiropractor, is put a good team around you.
Yeah.
That's
good advice.
Burnout is real because chiropractors try to do everything.
Yeah.
And and honestly, I tried to learn the social media.
That's a lot. Dr. Shawn.
It changes
it's a lot.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
It literally what do you call that? I want to say matrix, but
the algorithms and
the algorithm change
all the time.
Sometimes hourly.
Yeah.
And if you're not an expert, obviously You're coming to me to adjust your spine because I'm an expert in your spine, right? So like a young, you ask me for advice, $1 million question, find yourself someone to help you with the marketing.
Yeah.
For me, I found my niche is word of mouth.
Yeah.
I would love to grow online. I just don't know how.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you and I can chat another time about that.
Yeah, we'll chat afterwards.
Okay. So another piece. So there's a couple things I want to touch on before I kind of talk about some of the I wanted to talk a little about kind of digital strategies, kind of how, you explored, if you did, kind of the local SEO, the Google My Business strategies and whatnot. We don't have to touch on that if you haven't really done anything around it. But before we get to that, and then I have a nice little $1 million question for you there as well. But, we talked about community outreach. I want you to talk to, like you said, the up and coming DC, doctor of chiropractic. I want you to talk to them about, the community outreach and the word of mouth. Like, what role does community engagement, like maybe events or partnerships play in that marketing strategy? And then kind of how important, it's a kind of twofold question here for me, but how important is word of mouth in your practice, and how do you encourage referrals? That's really the questions.
Well, let's see. When I moved back to Simi Valley and started my own practice, I went to YMCA, had a health fair. I went there and I set up, and I relied heavily on Posture Screen app, and because it makes me look technologically advanced. I just felt the strings, people didn't get it. You put the string on and you take them off and they see these strings and they're crooked and they're doing this and that. And you're like, that's your hips. And they're like, they can't envision it. Yeah. And I found Posture Screen on the Apple store. I still subscribe to them to this day. I've probably been with them 10 plus years or more. And you take a picture of the patient forward, take a picture of them sideways, and then you do all the alignment. And you can show the person that their head is forward and that their head normally weighs about 12 pounds. But because it's gone 4 inches forward, it's now 40 pounds.
Right.
And that's why you're having the pain in your shoulders and your back.
Sure.
And you can give them a visual. And that kind of made it to where I went from, I got to do these spinal screenings to I get to educate people, because I felt comfortable because I could show them a picture of themselves, and show them that they're off, that the ears are off, the lines through here, your shoulders are tilted this way, your hips are tilted this way on their own body. And that was a game changer. Highly recommend that app. It's very inexpensive. Every patient that comes through our door, they get a posture screen on their first visit. We review it on the second visit. And I got out and do those events. I do the street fair. I do, we have the police station right next to us. I do cops and cruisers. And the other thing, young chiropractor, I did things I like. I like cars. I like motorcycles. So I would do car shows and motorcycle shows. And people are like, What are you doing that for?
Nice.
Because those are my people. Those are who I talk to.
Nice.
There's a local hockey team here, an 18 AAA team. But some of those kids have now gone on to play in the NHL, the AHL, Europe professionally. And I just walked in the door and said, hey, I'm here. Can I help? And they took me on, and I did that. And I went from there. I went to the local soccer fields and saying, hey, if you don't have a trainer, I'll be more than happy to come here, set up a tent. I'll bring ice and I'll render first aid. I'll do taping. Now, with that being said, if you're a chiropractor that does not have experience in athletic training, this probably isn't your niche. But if you do have that, it's a great way. You get the kids, you get the family. Kid walks in the door with an injury, mom's eventually going to come, dad's going to eventually come. And that's my favorite thing, treating the whole family.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I went to soccer games. I found things that I like to do. And did my marketing. I paid, I had marketing companies. I was with one, and they said, you got to do this, this, and this. And I'd go do it, and I was like, this is terrible. and I wasn't at my best.
Yeah.
And people you put that air out, like, I don't want to be here. Well, people don't want to be with you, So I learned rapidly to find things I like to do. Like I said, the car shows. I love youth sports.
Yeah.
Now I've been doing this long enough. I don't have to do that.
Right.
So now I get the fun part of showing up to a youth soccer game that I heard the kid talking about in here.
Yeah.
And he's playing down at the park on Saturday. I have nothing going on. And I show up and I watch their game. And that kid, they're just like, whoa, Dr. Shawn came to my game.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the coolest thing just watching them play, And I do that quite a bit.
I love that, man.
I try to hit every kid in my office, which is hard. I fail sometimes.
Yeah.
But I try to hit at
You're
least
one person,
one of their
though.
games.
Yeah.
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 Well, before I had my assistant, Anitra, who moved away from me, she would go to the baseball games. She would go to the different games, and I would go with her, and we would try to divide, and we would see all of them. We'd go to the football games, we'd go to lacrosse games, basketball games.
Yeah.
And it just, the kids are like, wow, you mean, I mean something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not forced. It really truly is. I truly love watching these kids perform,
So cool. So cool. Thank you for that. So, $1 million question. If you had a magic wand, Dr. Shawn, what's the one thing you would change to overcome the biggest pain point in growing your practice?
Wow. That's a good question. I guess obviously, I don't understand the social media, so I'm going to wave my arm in magic wand or my magic hands.
Yeah.
My $1 million fingers, as some of my patients call it.
Yeah.
Because, like I told you before, I don't understand it.
Okay.
So I would, the question is, add that component, that teammate to you. In my office, I don't do my own billing. I have a billing company that I trust.
Sure.
And they do that. I have, I'm at a point where I can do those things too. You can't just do that right out of the box. But I'm able to have, what it costs me for one employee a month, I save money by hiring a billing company.
Makes sense, for sure.
It sounds like I need to hire a social media manager.
I wonder if you can find someone that could.
I don't know. Maybe cyber adjustment. So I need a cyber adjustment on my cyber end of life.
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
And the other thing I do is I have a front staff that does everything, a back staff that does everything. I get to do what I do
because of them. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And that's the biggest
you need a
thing.
good team.
If you try to do everything, you're going to burn out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to transition a little bit here. Have you worked with other healthcare professionals, like maybe to offer a multidisciplinary approach for your patients at all? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. We've done that. We actually are currently starting one right now. We have a nurse practitioner in our office that offers, IVs, Myers cocktails, things like that. A few other things. She also does a lot of the facial stuff for the women. And we've offered that. I have in the past have had medical doctors that come in our office. And we will, starting next year, have that too, that offer PRP, stem cell, things like that.
What's PRP?
Here in our office. Platelet-rich plasma.
Okay. What is that
So it helps
exactly?
with sprains, strains, inflammation in your body. So they take your blood, just give it real simple. They pull your blood, spin it down, take the platelets out from your blood, re-inject them back into the area of injury, cause an inflammatory response, and then the inflammation goes away.
So cool.
And the speed's healing.
So cool.
In a nutshell.
So cool. I never heard about that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So we're going to be offering that. Multidiscipline, I stay in my lane. I know a lot of chiropractors don't. They kind of dabble in that, but I really feel that a PT is needed.
Yeah.
Physical therapy is separate and distinct from chiropractic. Do we do some mutual things? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, strengthening and that kind of stuff of a surgical injury, I generally use a PT. Obviously I work with, I have the PEMF machine. You can see right here. That's part of it. When someone breaks a bone, I treat the tissue around it to get rid of the inflammation. Well, that machine, the side effect is it helps speed the healing of the bone because I don't treat fractures, but I'll treat the tissue, soft tissue around it. So the fracture heals faster. And that helps a ton. And I do that kind of stuff, but I work hand in hand with the MDs with that.
You mentioned a couple just now, but it sounds like they've been around for a little bit, those type of treatments. But are there any recent advancements or, trends in chiropractic care that excite you, let's say?
Kind of focus on what I do. I'm really not looking at what other people do or what other chiros do. I do have a really close niche group of chiros that we talk. When one of them, like I mentioned, is Dr. Terry Wyman. I have any question or I'm stumped, I pick up the phone and I call Terry. I got another buddy, Dr. Eric Blum in Agora. I call him. We talk. The sun is in my face. It keeps moving here. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
It's I don't know what it is where you are, but it's 80 degrees today in Southern California.
No, it was like 28 this morning. It's ridiculous. It's not supposed to be. I'm in South Carolina. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, and so back to the other thing, I have a close niche group of friends that we've been practicing for a long time. Dr. Terry was actually my chiropractor at one point. Dr. Jim Sandberg was my chiropractor. I'm still in touch with them. But Terry and I, we used to have this thing. We rode motorcycles. We would chiros and bikes, and we would go once a month go have coffee and ride our motorcycles in the Southern California hills.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, life caught up. We're a little busy, but we had,
it happens.
The who's who of Southern California chiropractors sitting there meeting with us. And it was great. And I just sat there and listened to these guys and just like taking it all in. But that's the other key point, for marketing. It's, have a good group of chiros and doctors to work with. I have several MDs that I work with.
That believe in chiropractic care, because some don't.
Some don't. Yeah. More, I hate to say this, more believe it than not.
Okay.
There is some of the old timers, some of the old neurologists, old timer neurologists, but they're coming around and they have to.
Yeah.
People are seeking alternative care at record numbers.
Yeah.
And I remember being at Parker College and Dr. Mancini, I remember him always saying, this is the best time to be a chiropractor. This is the best time.
Yeah.
And you get out and you're just like, dude, the hot ramen sucks, man. How is this the best time? And, he's right. It really is. The shift in people wanting to get healthy is tremendous. It is the best time to be a chiropractor. So I do believe that. And there's, we treat less than, they used to say 1%. I think it's a little higher. I think we treat, probably 10% of the population. I think it's growing. 90% of the population out there. And where I live, literally, there's a chiropractor on every corner. And luckily in my community, we have amazing chiropractors. I don't have people come in here and I go, you wouldn't sell. So I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not a representative. We don't have that here where I am.
That's good.
So if you're not on top of your game, you won't be in Simi Valley very long.
That's good.
So like I said, I get that core group of guys, gals, and people you trust. Yeah. And, touch base with each other once or twice a week. Yeah. Or once or twice a month, excuse me. And, shoot the crap.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And they'll come up with marketing ideas. Every time I talk to Dr. Wyman, it's like, usually when I talk to Dr. Terry, he's got a size 10 boot so far up my behind because, dude, what are you thinking? You could do so much better. And I appreciate that. It does. I get off the phone, I'm like, damn, I hate it when Terry's
we need somebody like that in our life, man. I get it.
So,
I get it.
yeah, but, those are important.
So let's talk a little bit about the future of your practice. Where do you see it in the next, say, 5 to 10 years, and kind of what are your professional goals?
Well, I'm to a point now that I want to bring in a young doctor or two to kind of teach them what I know, and get them started and maybe possibly start opening multiple, see me spine and wellnesses, but, in other cities, Moorpark Spine and Wellness, Chatsworth Spine and Wellness, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's good.
I'm not getting any younger. So it's important that you come up with an exit plan strategy to reduce, like I see on average myself between 50 and 60 patients a day.
Yeah.
My body's not going to be able to do that long.
Yeah.
So it's time now to find other ways to have income.
Yeah.
And I'm very much into bringing in the young doctors, teaching them, and getting them on their way to kind of reduce my cost, my overhead, so there's more money in my pocket, so then I don't have to see as many patients.
Right.
As I'm going on. Not that I don't want to.
You can't.
I just know it's a tough job. Yeah. And as I'm getting older, I'm in my 50s and, soon to be 60s and, and so on and so forth. Of course. I still want to practice, as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So I got to have a roadmap that allows me to still be, be able to practice.
Okay. So
at the top of my game.
So I guess this leads me to my $1 million question then. So looking ahead, you're saying, you want to bring in, new doctors and kind of teach them and impart wisdom and all that. So looking ahead, what legacy do you really hope to leave in the chiropractic world, right? Both, as a practitioner, right? And really as an advocate for better healthcare.
Maybe I should have read your question so I was better prepared.
That's good.
So the listeners that don't know, he sent me questions. I reviewed them and I put them aside because I really want to be genuine.
That's good.
And I don't want to be rehearsed.
I love it. I love it.
So this is one of those ones that's, I don't know what my legacy would be.
Okay.
I just,
that's an honest answer.
I really hope that, that I can now shift gears and bring in some young chiros that are on the mission to be chiropractors.
Yeah.
And do what we do and kind of stay in our bubble and educate, teach people that we're not quacks. We're not, we're not going to give you a stroke if we adjust you. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We're going to get you better and be competent and be comfortable in the referral process when you get to a point where you need to send somebody out.
Yeah.
And just being, I think I say it best, and it's going to relate to, I know your other $1 million question that's coming up that we keep teasing, so don't go anywhere.
It's coming.
If I can help one person like I was helped, that's my legacy.
Gotcha.
I just want to help one person.
I love it.
That's the same way my family was helped.
I love it. Well, that kind of brings us into that segment, Dr. Shawn. So, folks, this is probably one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard related to the chiropractic care piece of it. So, Trevor, your son, and he's your oldest, correct?
Right. Yeah. He's 22.
Now he's 22 now, but can you, so Trevor's diagnosis, can you share Trevor's story? What it was like for your family when he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy? Can you get into that a little bit?
So I'll kind of bring it back to when he was, his mom, right before he was born, the night before he was born, she kind of noticed he's just really not moving much. I said, I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'm going to check. And she did, drank milk. I guess if you drink milk, it's supposed to stimulate the baby and move the baby around. And he didn't really move. She kind of moved around. So the next day she went to her doctor's appointment, which, at this point, it's about a month to 6 weeks early. And she went to the doctor's appointment. I was at physical therapy trying to get better to go back to the sheriff's department. And I get a phone call. Hey, you need to come. This is important. So I was there, and I literally was in pool therapy. So I was in swim trunks, and I'm in there, and they're like, hey, we're going to go to surgery. You need to go home and change. And it was in the other city, Thousand Oaks, which is about 30 minutes away. Jumped in the car, raced here, raced back, got there, and they take Trevor out, and Trevor had his umbilical cord wrapped around his head. He has bruised all the way around. He had twisted into his umbilical cord, and it squeezed and gave him a brain bleed in his right fourth ventricle, which left him as a hemiplegia of the left side, which is, in layman's terms, cerebral palsy. So he's born. He's not thriving. My nephew at the time, Ryan, was holding him, and he stopped breathing. The nurse came in, freaked out. We grabbed him. We run him back to the nursery, and we're trying to get him to breathe. He starts breathing again. He would forget to breathe.
I get that.
And so they rushed him in the ICU. Now I have a distraught mother in the room, the baby in the ICU. So I'm trying to kind of bounce between the two of them.
I lived it. I get it.
C-section.
Yep.
And so
terrible.
We were in there. Long story short, Dr. Lena and Dr. Sandberg, husband and wife, chiropractic team, their son was born 2 weeks prior to Trevor, and Dr. Lena happened to still be in the hospital from some complications. So I saw Dr. Sandberg in the hallway, and I go, oh man, Trevor's in ICU. You want to see him? Blah blah blah. He comes in, checks him out. I am not a chiropractor at this point. I'm thinking I'm going to go back and chase bad guys. He's kind of playing with the baby and doing this, and to me it looks like he's playing with the baby. He was adjusting him. Within hours, Trevor was out of the ICU, and we were at home. I didn't know that happened. So at this point, Trevor hasn't been diagnosed with CP. They just said, they saw the blood clot. And so we're going home, we're going through all the doctor's appointments. We're young parents. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And finally, we go see a neurologist after we've been seeing our pediatrician, who just kept saying, no, you guys are first-time parents. You're just you're stressed. And I'm like, no, there's something not right. Something not right. And so we finally go to a neurologist, and we have a neurology appointment, and then we have the pediatric appointment right after. We see the neurologist. The neurologist goes, hey, he's got cerebral palsy. There's nothing going on over here. So we go from there to our pediatrician. He's, I'm so sorry. I can't believe it. I'm like, you lost all credibility with me, sir. You told me that it was and I'm telling you there's something wrong with my kid.
Right.
The mother's intuition is never, never wrong. You explore even as me as a doctor, if a mother comes in here and says there's something wrong with their child, you follow that intuition as far as you possibly can until you have an answer. Yeah. That suffices that mother's intuition or that father's intuition. And long story short, I start chiropractic college. During this time, I was doing DeVry online. I was going to go to law school. Nobody likes a lawyer. So I'm going to DeVry online, trying to, do that and being a stay-at-home dad because I was still injured. I eventually go into Dr. Sandberg's office. And, man, I got accepted to law school here locally. I can't wait to go. And he looks at me and he goes, Shawn, nobody likes a lawyer. And I had just left my lawyer's office from the sheriff's department and was told I was only going to get less than a year's salary after 5 years of pain and suffering. And I have no way to go get another job at that point. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. No one likes an attorney. And he set up my visit at Cleveland Chiropractic College. Go there, do the visit, start. I think I told this earlier. During that time, Cleveland Chiropractic College was very big in bringing in speakers. And the philosophy group was. And they brought in a guy, and I don't know his name. He's from Bakersfield, but he had a classmate that he talked about, Dr. Drew Hall. Did upper cervical. They were upper cervical guys, Blair upper cervical. And so at that point in my career, whatever I was learning about, I sought that type of chiropractor out. So if you were a Gonstead chiropractor, I went to a strictly Gonstead chiropractor. When I was learning about upper cervical, I went to Blair certified upper cervical doctors, right? So we would go hang out at Dr. Hall's office and see people roll in wheelchairs and walk out. We're try one, try two students going, hell is this guy doing? What does he have in that back room?
Yeah.
And if you don't know, an upper cervical adjustment is literally, it's just the softest adjustment that a chiropractor can perform.
Yeah.
But it's the most precise, measured adjustment that there is in our career, in our profession. So I get adjusted a couple times, and it's funny you bring up the hearing. I am deaf in my left ear. Dr. Hall got some of my hearing back. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
My back pain, gone. At this point I've had surgery, so I had just minor pain.
Yeah.
Gone. So I go back to Trevor's mom and said, hey, he says he can help Trevor. And this other doctor said that, this guy's having miracles come out of his office. Here's what I saw with my group of students, Dr. Licata, Dr. Sanabria, all of us were all in there. And I go, you won't believe it. You got to go, and her name's Miriam. Miriam, you got to go. You got to go check this out. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So we were on a trimester break, and we were on our way to the local mountains here for a week to actually for me to kind of decide, is chiropractic school for me?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I have a child with special needs? I need to go get a job.
Right.
And provide. And we go to Dr. Drew's office. He adjusts me. And in Blair, you get the toggle recoil adjustment, and you lay down for 15, 20 minutes or more to rest, let the adjustment settle in. I get my adjustment. I go in there, and I'm laying down. He adjusts Trevor. And because Trevor's a left hemi, he gets constipated quite a bit, because that's the tail end of your digestive end of it. So he would get constipated a lot. I'm in there. His mom comes in and says, I don't know what he did. Trevor crapped through his pants twice. I don't know. I'm like, so I tell Dr. Drew, Dr. Hall, I said, hey, man, and his big thing, that's great. That's the best thing. I'm like, you better have an answer for her, because she's going to kill you. That's her baby.
Run,
she's
man,
gonna
run.
Kill you, man. You better, don't be, that's great. That's perfect. That's what I wanted. No, you better tell her why.
Yeah.
I can't be a witness to it. I'm over here. I'm going to stay here. So he goes out and he talks to Miriam, settles her down. Trevor, again, through his diaper.
Oh, goodness.
She's hotter than a pistol. We get in the car. He's changed this baby's clothes twice. We're driving, and Trevor used to hold his bottle like this. This is how he drank.
Okay.
So I'm looking in the mirror, and I see him doing this.
Wow.
And he's like just about a year old, just shy of a year old. A little over a year old.
Wow.
And he's just looking at it. I'm like, oh, look at that. We get up to Big Bear where we were going, and he could pull himself up, but really couldn't do much at that point. Like up on a couch, he'd pull himself up on the side, up on a coffee table, all that kind of stuff. And he pulled himself up and started walking. I went, holy,
so amazing.
Started
that
talking.
That is so amazing.
And he started talking all from a Blair upper cervical adjustment.
Wow.
And I'm at the point in schooling where they're talking about the green books and the miracles and the Harvey Lever, how he got adjusted, his hearing was restored. And you're hearing all this stuff, and you're going, show me.
Yeah.
Show me. Well, the guy upstairs said, all right, naysayer, I'm going to show you, and you're going to go do that for one person.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do that for one person, your career is a success.
Yeah.
And Trevor had went on to race BMX. He played lacrosse.
Unbelievable.
He at one point was being considered for the Paralympics in cycling. And I remember this doctor telling us, "Oh, your child will never walk and talk, so just kind of, you're gonna have to deal
those
with it."
doctors.
And I'm like, "No, man, you don't know. Trevor and Micah's aunt has Wolff-Rayet disease. They told her she would live past 3. She's in her 30s.
Yeah.
These guys don't know what they're talking
Yeah.
about. The only person that knows what's going on is the man upstairs.
That's right.
And all we are here to do as doctors is to do what he tells us to do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
So I'm just like, dude, you don't know me. You don't know my child.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it was, we just treated Trevor like normal. And, we would hand things to his left hand, so we'd be forced to do it. And of course, the chiropractic adjustments helped a ton. And as he got older and I became a chiropractor, he would come to me, "Dad, I can't go to the bathroom," and I'd adjust him and he'd go to the bathroom, and then, obviously I was along with his career through BMX and injuries and everything else. And then he did road cycling and velodrome, and started down that path. And we did that for a while. But honestly, if it wasn't for Dr. Hall's adjustment, you and I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trevor wouldn't be
doing what he's doing
today. I
Yeah.
firmly believe that.
Yeah.
And, and that's, it's just, it's pretty amazing, and you see this kid, and for a long time, we never told his story. Only a few people at BMX knew, and we would travel the national circuit.
Mm-hmm.
They were both my boys are sponsored riders, on different teams, and we did the national circuit. And I'll never forget a gentleman by the name Mike Redmond, Redmond Bicycles. He was a famed announcer for USA BMX, and was a trained Trevor. And I remember Trevor was winning in Reno, and his little legs just ran out. He just, against an able-bodied kid. Mike Redmond's crying, going, "Trevor's winning!" And the whole place turned around, and our whole crew from Simi Valley at that point had kind of learned that Trevor had cerebral palsy, had been told, and had read some stories that I did. And the whole place just lit up. And unfortunately, he got second, but just by a little bit. His little legs couldn't do it. And I thought, Mike was just in tears.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't call that unfortunate.
There's a gentleman named Eric that now calls USA BMX races. He would call Trevor Hollywood and just made a big deal out of him. And he did things, and a lot of these kids didn't even know. Michael or Trevor was kicking their butt with half a body.
It's just crazy.
Isn't that mind-blowing? Yeah.
Oh,
so,
goodness.
Now he's an adult working, and doing his thing and
Wow. So, man, okay, so we talked about, I told you guys, this is the most powerful story I've ever, but we talked about his diagnosis, right? Like, when he was diagnosed and kind of what you guys went through. We talked a little bit about, the treatment option, the upper cervical adjustments. We mentioned that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also talked about kind of the improvements that you saw, like almost immediately in his, mobility and things like that. And you did make a comment, but I want to dig a little bit deeper into that comment. You said that we wouldn't be here today if you didn't experience that with your son. So how specifically has Trevor's journey influenced your approach to patient care, influenced your approach to even, being in the field in general?
Well, there's a part I skipped over the story. I had an opportunity to work for a very famous helmet painter, clothing company in the action sports realm.
Okay.
And I was going on vacation to consider dropping out of chiropractic school and just pursuing that. And when I told the story to that gentleman, he was just like, "Yeah, no, you got to go do that."
Wow.
For one other family. And that's kind of been my mantra.
Wow.
I come through the door, I hope I give you a miracle, or I affect your family in a positive way, just one patient at a time.
I love it. Okay, I guess, what message of, I would say, hope, but when I tell my story, I always talk about having a purpose for your pain, right? What message of hope or purpose would you kind of share with parents considering chiropractic care for their children with neurological conditions or not? Like, what message would you give them?
Well, I've done a couple of these before, and I get a line out the door, and parents are expecting what I got with Trevor. And, you could give that same adjustment to 100 babies with the same thing, and maybe only one gets to respond.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to look for the small improvements.
Yes.
So you bring that up. I talked about Cody right here. Look him up, Cody Jones. He's an Olympic Paralympian.
Mm-hmm.
He's a javelin thrower.
Mm-hmm.
He is the same as Trevor. Hemiplasia. I mean, they're 5 years apart. I believe 4 or 5 years apart in age. I believe Cody's in his 26 years old. You see them walk, it's almost identical mirror. And for us as a family, having Cody's dad, who happens to be in the sheriff's department, we were in the academy together. I don't even think they know how much of an impact his mom and Chris and Candace have had on me and my ex-wife, because we were able to watch Cody's journey. He was a pitcher in baseball, and he would, he did the Abbott. Remember Abbott from the Angels, the guy that had one hand?
Yeah.
So Abbott taught Cody how to catch with one hand and throw with one hand. And so he was a pitcher here at the local high school. Wow. And we got to follow that journey. And then he transitioned into the Paralympian doing javelin. Someone said, man, I think you should try throwing a javelin. You can go to the Olympics. And it's just, he's a perfect example of, he comes in, I can adjust him and I see his hips move. I see his shoulders move. Right. I see this. And he reports back that his arm moves better.
Wow.
Because of the adjustment. Now, is it because of the injury that now we're doing that adjustment, he's throwing better? No, it's because chiropractic works.
Yeah.
And it works on everybody, but you see it more because he had,
that's right.
He has that neurological issue.
That's right.
Yeah. So, so it's like, it's crazy. And I mean, I've been lucky enough to help several families with kids with cerebral palsy or kids with different disabilities. Excuse me, coffee said hello. Several disabilities and things like that. And I always tell them, just look for the small change.
Yeah.
Because one small change to him or her is massive, and that's all I always tell them. And I work to do that. And I always set, them, people like their expectations, miracles happen in my office every day. I can't tell you when they're going to happen. I can't tell you if they're going to happen on the first adjustment or the 5,000th adjustment. But they will happen. But you will see improvement every day.
Yeah. That's good.
And that's when I tell people and I help, like I said, I have a lot of kids that come in that have different disabilities and learning disabilities and stuff that, just a simple taking the pressure off the brainstem helps them a ton.
So we talked really as far as Trevor's journey is concerned from your perspective. But my $1 million question, and you might not be able to answer this, but he's your son. You guys talk. You know how he thinks. But if Trevor could inspire others with his story, right? What do you think his message would be about the role chiropractic care played in his journey?
Well, he's still a chiropractic patient. He goes sees a chiropractor in the other city because that's kind of where he hangs out. He definitely knows. He tells people all the time, get adjusted. It helps. His biggest message was why he was training, and everyone was asking him, I don't have a disability. I have a different ability. And also Cody, that's Cody's tagline too. And, these kids, they could just have sat there and said, oh, I'm disabled. No, they're going out there changing the world.
Love it.
And,
absolutely.
Cody's, like I said, a personal speaker. Trevor's still at the age he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. Yeah. I think he wants to go in the medical realm. We talked about maybe going into nursing. So yeah, they're going to be world changers.
I love it.
You know, they're not disabled. They just have a different ability.
I love it. That's a great message. Really is a great message.
And that's Cody's 100% copyrighted, registered Cody Jones.
So one, I really appreciate your time. This has been enlightening for me, Dr. Shawn, but I'd love to kind of end this with a message to our listeners. What is the one takeaway? If they literally listen to nothing, if they absorb nothing from our conversation in this podcast, but what is one takeaway you hope listeners, both chiropractic side, right, as far as the DCs are concerned, and the patient side, leave with after hearing your story and your insights?
Well, for our patients, get adjusted. It's simple.
Simple.
Get adjusted. It helps.
Yeah.
For our for my brothers and sisters in chiropractic,
Yeah.
just give back to one patient. Give what they give, your story, give that to one patient. That'll turn into hundreds, because if you do that for every patient that walks through your door, just what was given to me, my goal every day is to give to one patient. At the end of my career, I will be successful if I've affected one family the way my family was affected. Just one patient. And I know, I not to sound cocky, I know I've already met my goal. So my career ended today.
Yeah.
I'm a success.
Yeah.
But because my focused on just giving what I got to one person, one family.
Yeah.
I've done it multiple times.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, again, thank you. I really appreciate you being on the show. Man, I hope we might be able to do this again one day. We'll talk about maybe dive a little bit deeper into chiropractic care and see what you've discovered over time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
That'd
if
be
we
fun.
were in person, I would shake your hand. But again, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shawn.
No problem. Thank you.